Good morning and afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this exciting session where we're going to introduce you to QuickLaunch Analytics and really show you how you can start unlocking your enterprise data with Power BI and modern cloud platforms. So today marks a pretty significant milestone in our company's journey as we unveil QuickLaunch Analytics. And we're really just thrilled to share our transformation and how that's going to help your organization turn data into actionable business value. In a world where more than 80% of companies struggle with fragmented data, today we're really going to start to explore how you can turn that data chaos into clarity. So just to introduce you to the team today, my name is David Kettinger, and over the past 10 years with QuickLaunch Analytics, I've worn many hats, including 6 years as a data analytics consultant. And this is me in the first picture here, hiking in Colorado. I actually told my family that I was going to Colorado to get my master's in information systems, but really I went out to ski and climb mountains, which is what I'm doing here in this photo and still doing today up in the Lake Tahoe area. And today I'm really excited to have Adam Crigger, the founder and CEO of QuickLaunch Analytics, join us, really to share his experience and his vision. And Adam's been in the business analytics space, I don't know, Adam, probably for over 20 years, maybe more, really just witnessing firsthand how organizations struggle to extract value from their data. And in addition to being our fearless leader, Adam is also our lead graphic designer, and I know he's really excited to show off some of his new shiny slides for y'all today. And then lastly, but certainly not least, we have our newest member of the team. And at a recent company meeting, I did a little word cloud vote for the team on what our data astronaut should be named, and Dax was born. And for y'all that've been around Microsoft BI, we did steal that from Power BI's data analysis expression, but we thought it was cute and we're rolling with it. So we try to make data fun here at QuickLaunch. And so today we're going to play a little game. You probably know Where's Waldo. This is going to be the Where's Dax game. And it's not a participation trophy game. You actually get something. And we're actually going to give out some of these really cozy sweatshirts. So you can see the team here modeling them for you. And all you got to do to get one of those is find the slide that Dax is not on. So Dax is hiding in all of these slides except for one. So figure out what the name or title of that slide is and drop it in the Q&A panel at the bottom. And we'll send you one of these awesome sweatshirts. Okay, so diving into what we'll cover today, we'll start by really exploring the data challenges facing modern enterprises, and more importantly, how enterprise analytics can address these challenges. And then we'll introduce you to QuickLaunch Analytics and some of our enhanced capabilities, and you'll learn about really our approach to helping you win with data. And we'll share a few customer success stories around that, and then jump into what our QuickLaunch Analytics packs include. And finally, we'll conclude with some next steps for how you can get started on your enterprise analytics journey and open it up to questions at the end. All right, so with that, let's jump into it. So I just wanted to start by acknowledging sort of the reality that most enterprises face today. Data is everywhere, seemingly, but insights are scarce, right? And most organizations that we work with really struggle with five key challenges. So the first here, applications are multiplying almost every day, right? Creating these new information silos that prevent this unified view of business performance. And then next you have, just growing data volumes and complexities that really are just keep exploding, and it really makes manual analysis cruel, if not impossible. And then next you have technology that just keeps evolving at a rapid rate, whether it's cloud or AI or new analytics approaches. You're just constantly trying to keep up with the trends, right? And then the next hurdle that we see is that there's really just this significant talent gap in data engineering and analytics, especially. So how do you just bring on the right talent just to support these new analytics approaches? And then finally, if that wasn't enough, you have governance requirements that are seemingly more strict than ever. You know, data privacy, then you got compliance regulations. So how do you balance all that? How do you juggle all of these challenges, right? Um, they really create this perfect storm that starts to prevent organizations from realizing the full potential of their data. So, how do you overcome these? Well, um, we have a proven methodology that we wanted to outline for you today, and it really this slide visualizes the complete journey from raw data to business value. And what you're seeing is not just a methodology, but it's really it's a proven framework that addresses the challenges we just looked at. So going back to the climbing mountains that that I started off with introducing, this climbing metaphor really represents your organization's journey toward analytics maturity. And so like climbing, it's a structured ascent where it really requires the right equipment, the right knowledge and expertise, and the right approach. But also, like climbing, the view from the top or the business outcomes totally makes the climb worth it, right? So the first layer of this approach starts with the data pipelines, which is really how do you take data from your enterprise business systems and put it into a data repository that's ready to scale and support your enterprise analytics initiative. So this is where you're building that unified, scalable ETL workflows, and really without this foundation, everything else starts to become unstable. And so this really addresses the challenge around a lot of data silos and data explosion, right? So once you have the data pipelines set up, you're ultimately going to feed those into this next layer, which is the lakehouse layer. And this is that modern data lakehouse platform that combines the traditional data warehouse with data lakes and cloud storage, and it really becomes this central repository of trusted information. And then the next layer that we have is the analytics layer. And at this layer, or this level, we're creating this accessible and actionable analytics layer that includes, these enterprise grade data models, as well as, these business ready dashboards and reports that people want to interact with and want to adopt. And so once you have the analytics layer in place, then you really got to think about, okay, well, how do I enable adoption? How do I get my users to actually start incorporating these reports and these dashboards and this analytics into their everyday decision making processes and into business processes? This adoption layer is really what enables the last piece of this, which is business outcomes or the summit, right? So really, this is what all the work is for. It's creating the tangible business value through improved outcomes, right? Whether it's increased revenue through, identifying new opportunities or decreasing costs. These are all real outcomes that we're driving for our customers. And again, it's not just theoretical; it's a proven approach that we're currently implementing for customers. So what we're really describing here is an enterprise approach to analytics. And I guess before I dive further into the content, into our solution, I just wanted to take a step back and define, what is enterprise analytics? Well, enterprise analytics really refers to this comprehensive approach that organizations take to collect and process and analyze and ultimately act on their data. And unlike departmental or siloed analytics efforts, enterprise analytics really spans the full organization, connecting data from multiple systems and business units to really provide that holistic view of operations and the customer and business performance. So it's unifying all your data into a single source of truth. It's enabling self-service for business users without that technical expertise. It's scaling with your data footprint without performance issues, and it's really providing that cross-functional or cross-departmental insights so you can start to see the complete picture. So when you compare this to departmental or siloed analytics, you start to see that departmental or siloed approaches creates new problems for you and new hurdles to come up with to overcome. And so this comparison really illustrates that enterprise analytics really provides this organizational wide coverage versus more siloed departmental views. And again, it's integrating those multiple businesses systems rather than focusing on just your ERP system or just your CRM system. And then also it's centralizing the governance and standardizing on processes and workflows instead of these more ad hoc or inconsistent methods, so that when Bob and Sally, both from different business units, go to a leadership team and explain gross profit, they have the same definition of gross profit and they're not arguing over whose calculation is correct. Again, so this enterprise analytics approach is really how you start to create this business value. And ultimately, when evaluating a new technology investment, or really any business investment, the key question really is always what business value will this create, right? And again, our customers are consistently achieving things like increased revenue through identifying those opportunities, or getting decreasing costs through having the transparency into their business processes to start optimizing those, or greater efficiency through automating certain workflows or processes. And so each segment of this wheel really represents these concrete business outcomes that directly impact your bottom line. So it's not just about better reporting; it's about creating the measurable business value. And that's really what we've been focused on at Preferred Strategies in the past, and now QuickLaunch Analytics. So we're really excited about this rebrand, and we've officially launched this year, and it's been a really exciting journey. But our main identity stays the same. We're an enterprise analytics as a service provider that really operates as an extension of your data team. So we've been around since 2002, and over the past 23 years or so, we've helped customers really bridge the gap between these complex corporate systems like ERP and the leading analytics and BI technologies, and really helping them by providing this future-proof enterprise data platform. And so currently we're a team, as you can see here, of over 35 data enthusiasts and a combined 500 plus years of analytics experience. And that includes the that 1 year that DAX brings. So when we look at elements of the new look, you may notice a nod to the old logo. We kind of wanted to keep it somewhat similar so that there was some recognition between the two, but also kind of wanted to give it a little bit more modern look and feel. And we also wanted to keep the elements of data visualization because that's such a core part of who we are. So we kept the bar chart, we kept the donut chart in our icon. And then we added the rocket ship really as a play on the QuickLaunch space theme. It's really meant to represent this exploration of new data frontiers, as well as signifying growth that's promised when you embark on an enterprise analytics strategy or journey. So yeah, we're excited to have these new creative legs to stand on, and we have some cool brand related campaigns that we'll be releasing in the near future. So just to kind of highlight this new brand look, I wanted to share with you guys this little brand intro teaser video that we created. So let me go ahead and play this.
In today's fast-paced world, businesses need to be informed, agile, and outcome-oriented to stay ahead. But turning raw data into actionable information, that's easier said than done. Say hello to QuickLaunch Analytics. Formerly known as Preferred Strategies, we are proud to unveil our new identity, QuickLaunch Analytics, a name that embodies speed, precision, and innovation in enterprise intelligence. Serving as an extension of your team, our mission is to empower everyone in your organization to make more informed decisions with data. QuickLaunch Analytics is more than a new name. It's a vision for transforming data into tangible business outcomes. We're excited to explore new data frontiers and share upcoming innovations with you.
All right, so with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Adam here so he can steal the show.
Awesome.
In today's
there you go. Thanks, David. Yeah, it was great seeing the video, and David, thank you for the vision and driving this whole rebrand. And I know it's fun and creative, but definitely it's a lot of work. And so I'm excited just to be part of it as well. And I get the fun part of walking through a few slides, going back in time, right? I don't know if some of you, we have maybe some customers on the line. Again, we've been around since 2002, and here's just some of our marketing and our graphic design. I can't take credit for any of these personally, but I remember each one of these and like it was yesterday. And I don't know who can tell what year was the Matrix theme on these little images, but yeah, this is just some funny postcards that we had shared over the years. Most of these were going back 15, 20 years or so. But yeah, so I think it's just, evolving like everything over time. And now like how we get to where we are. And if you look at this slide, it's kind of looking at over the years, like how we've grown as an organization, how we've transitioned. When we first started in 2002, I had just left an ERP company that was running JD Edwards in the construction space. And we had struggled getting information out of the ERP and found Crystal Reports to be a great solution at the time. And so we built, some really cool stuff at that company, and talking to a lot of other companies, everybody was struggling with the same challenges. If you've got all this data living in this black box of an ERP and no one can really get anything out of it and make sense of it. So we figured out some things there, and talking to other companies, thought, well, it's a great opportunity to go ahead and share some of that knowledge with others. And so in 2002, left there, and we really started building out a training program for ERP in the financial area with Crystal Reports. And that's really what jump-started our organization. And really we were training and consulting. So we would go and do a training class, we do consulting and help you write reports. And then after a few years, we realized that we were in essence building a program and delivering a program that was recreating a wheel at every client. So we go out there, we build reports, and in the trainings, we'd have controllers and financial analysts and everybody saying, geez, how come I got to build all these calculations? How come I have to understand what a left outer join is on these tables? And how do I relabel these things? And how do I get these, user-defined codes into my reports? And it's like, yeah, this is hard. There is no easy button here. And so finally it dawned on us, we recreated the same wheel. Why don't we build a template that already does some of that heavy lifting for them? And that's what really kind of initiated the first version of QuickLaunch, which is our product. And that's where you'll see down there in the left-hand side, Launcher Solution Kit. So that was really version 1. And we built out templates for each of the different subject areas of an ERP. So focusing around finance was what we used to really build out the training there. And then you can kind of see as we go from left to right, lots of acquisitions over the years that we've dealt with in the analytics space, from Crystal Reports to Business Objects, Microsoft, obviously, being part of the traditional BI world, and then really kind of taking charge with Power BI around that 2015, 2016 timeframe. We did start dabbling. When we still have some, actually, take a step back. We have some Business Objects customers still today. A lot of them have transitioned to leverage the Microsoft technology suite and move in the direction of Power BI. But we initially started introducing Microsoft technologies with a plugin to Excel called Power Pivot. So you'll see that little Excel icon around 2011. And we thought that was really cool. We thought that'd be something everybody really loved to use. And then we found out Power Pivot's just a plug into a spreadsheet. If you save 10 copies of that spreadsheet, that concept of data silos David was just talking about, you've basically just created data silos, right? How do you get that centralized governance? How do you get that enterprise level type model where you can maintain and manage everything in one place? And that's where it kind of leads you to that next little icon, SQL Server Analysis Services. So we started taking that model of a Power Pivot. Those actually could be loaded into analysis services model. That also became the engine and back end of Power BI. So, by the time Power BI came on the scene in 2015, we pretty much already had a 4 or 5 year accelerated jumpstart, because we were already working with that. All the models that we built in the enterprise model basically became, imported into Power BI as a starting point. So that's really what that you can see the trend and the growth trend and the technology trend with Microsoft, since it came about. And I think if you look at Gartner, they've been kind of the leading technology in Gartner now for the last 5 years or so. So, if you just look at the logos at the bottom, you can kind of see that little history, as David is referring. We try to keep with the new QuickLaunch Analytics and tie it back to the path of tradition that got us there. And then as we move to the far right on this trend chart, you can kind of see moving up to now, moving not just with on-premise and traditional BI platforms into more Microsoft Power BI centric, and into the cloud, and now leveraging things like Databricks that we'll talk about in a few minutes. So now if we look at why change and why now, and QuickLaunch Analytics, we like to think it's more of just a name change, right? There's no, just to kind of set the stage, there's not new ownership, there's nothing else that's like driving this. It's just we spent a lot of time over the last few years as we've transitioned over the last 20 something years, starting out as a consulting and training company, providing all services, to then having a product. And actually it was probably more than 10 to 15 years ago when our product sales outgrew our services. And so it's been an expanding thing for quite some time, but yet our name of Preferred Strategies just felt like it didn't have that it was more of a services type name. And we've always had lots of people ask that question of, are you guys a services company? Are you a product, like a software company? Like, well, what is it? Explain to me, because I'm not really sure what it is. And we had this product called QuickLaunch, and talking to customers, some customers refer to us as Preferred Strategies. Some refer us as QuickLaunch and QuickLaunch Analytics. So we actually, let's just go with the product, but really to focus on why. I think the answer is that we feel like with QuickLaunch Analytics, it just aligns with where we're headed as an organization, where our customers are headed as a strategy. Our goal is really to get, and our mission is to get and empower everyone to make confident decisions with data, right? And I think QuickLaunch Analytics is what we found the best path to help customers on their journey to achieve that. We can see that definitely the demand, and it's only getting much more immediate, is the move to the cloud. It's been a transition that, it's not like we just started talking cloud in the last couple of years, but I think it's now become almost a requirement. It was never that way 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, but now, if you're not delivering a solution that's really cloud focused and cloud based around the modern analytics technology stack, then really should be questioning, what's the longevity of what we're doing. And so I think that's been a huge focus. with our new go-to-market, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. And really back to just the ongoing partnerships with customers, as well as other extended partners that we have in the space. But it's elevating the customer experience really to drive that value and really the outcomes, and that really should be why you do anything if you're going to change anything regarding how your company's operating around data. To dive in a little bit deeper on that, so let's just kind of break that down a little bit. One of the things prior to 2025, as I mentioned, how we got started building out training and consulting services around ERPs, but some specific ERPs that those have grown over the years. So where we started at JD Edwards, and then we branched out to construction in Viewpoint Vista, and other, Vista, Spectrum, and then also NetSuite. So we've kind of branched out. In all of those branches, there's a lot of consistency and overlapping standardization in what those models and what that architecture and infrastructure contains and what we're delivering. So really, this year with enterprise analytics capabilities is how do you then get things that can be consistent across the organization? And that's really where you get enterprise analytics for all. And how can you do that fast? And how can you do that to truly have a strategy and a plan and then execute on that plan, right? So we'll talk more about that when we get into some other slides. But this move to the cloud, rather going from on-premise SQL databases and data warehouses to truly getting to that data lakes, Delta Lake houses. David talked about that. We'll kind of talk more about that as well as we go. And then the other thing to really focus on is that enterprise data model, right? So you're probably re-hearing a lot of these terms now for the third or fourth time as I'm talking about them, from even when David had set the stage earlier. But it's that single source of truth, right? How do you get that confidence? How can you make a decision knowing 100% that there's not a question in your mind that it's the right number, it's the right result? And then also, how do you then do that in a way that's not, okay, it took me 4 days to get to that answer. You need things quick, you need things readily available. And how do you get an architecture that's going to support that? And not only that, just for the ongoing decision making, but at some point, if you're not already tackling it, where does more AI fit into the world? And I don't know anybody nowadays that hasn't gone to ChatGPT as an example and done something, but how do you then tie that in with your full modern analytics strategy? And that's where forcing these new architectures in the cloud is what's going to be required to make those work. And we're here to help you in that. Okay, next slide. So transforming and how do you turn your data into value? We kind of broke this down. It's not just, you basically say, okay, I've got today what I want to do. I just want to turn my data into value, and you blink and voila, this happens, right? This is where there is no easy button. This stuff takes time. It takes a lot of effort. 80% or more of companies kind of fail or struggle at finding success and gaining adoption. And so it's something that you need to kind of think through, and quick wins, right? So you want to find how do you establish the right order and the right combination of things, so every step of the way you're progressing on that journey to value, but progressing that journey to adoption, and just changing the way how this becomes a fabric of how your organization operates. So if we look on the left hand side here, it starts with the data, right? It seems like a lot of these, you got all these applications feeding all of this unlimited data, but by default that data is not in a usable form, right? You can't base decisions on the data in its raw state. It has to be translated into information. And the way to do that is through technology. Once that data is translated into information, it can then be converted and transformed into knowledge. But that requires your people to be able to make that transition of information to knowledge, because it's still people that really make decisions, right? And so with the right knowledge, we can make the right decision. And with the right decision, you can then drive the right outcome. So, as David was alluding to, how do you make a decision on your, operations line of, what's going to basically drive impact on, reducing, waste or improving yield. And we'll talk about some examples in a moment. But once you have those outcomes, right? That's what then establishes value as you start to quantify that for the business, okay? So just tying down below at the bottom portion of the slide, you can kind of see how, from the technology, we see it as this, feeding data from various sources through creating these consistent data pipelines into a lakehouse. And the lakehouse is where you're going to do that translation and transformation and figure out what you need to pull together and how you need to structure data so it's analytics ready. And then it's in the analytics side. Typically what we do with Power BI is where we build those enterprise grade models where that becomes that single source of truth. And that becomes in essence, the engine that drives and feeds that knowledge to make those decisions. And really, if we look at on the far right, it's through those decisions again, where those outcomes, really start to occur. And that's where you start to thrive. I'm super excited to share this, and I'm happy if you put in a note at the end of the education session today, and you'd like us. We had Bill Sandblom, who's the CIO at International Group IGI Wax, has done a few different kind of a testimonial or customer roundtable type sessions with us, and so in one of those he kind of walked through all these. I'm going to just kind of summarize what he shared, but I'm happy to send you the link so you can kind of hear it directly from Bill. But really, he was sharing kind of before, modernizing their technology stack, everything like a lot of customers we talk to today, it's lots of manual steps. So I was just on a call and a demo yesterday and I asked the customer, well, okay, you want to get open purchase orders by supplier. How would you do that? Well, I'd go into the system, I'd run this report, I'd export to a spreadsheet, do a bunch of VLOOKUPs, and so it was like, how long does that take you? Well, I can get it down to like 15 minutes now, right? Shouldn't take, those should not be steps. So that's the same thing that was happening at International Group. So it was 80% of their time was in that preparation stage. And then 20% of the time was analyzing and then actioning those results and those insights. After modernizing their tech stack, and is really was where they flipped that. So 20% of the time with like maybe 5% preparation, the rest of that, in analyzing the data, then you get all action, right? So it's really, that's how you become much more of an agile and nimble organization, if you can kind of change the way that you, again, operate around data. And the few other kind of highlighting, quantifying that is, Bill shares a story about their AR credit disputes. So what would happen is they manufacture and distribute wax, right? And so I think they're one of the biggest, wax, companies in the world. So they would have a truck come into their plant and they'd fill it with wax, and the truck's trying to leave, and they'd find out, oh, there's a credit dispute. You can't leave. We got to kind of get this resolved before you leave. And so by the time they'd have to get the information together, talking to the customer they're waiting because they just want to get back on the road. It would take 2 to 4 hours to kind of clear that up. And so no one's happy about that. But after they were able to change the way they get that information in the hands of the right people, within 5 minutes, all the information was needed. They can clear it up and get that truck right back on the road. So that was a huge benefit there. Carrying to the second one down there is on their operations line, same kind of thing. The process engineers, it would take, a few hours to kind of get the information. So when something wasn't going just right, to kind of try and figure it out, it was 3 or 4 hours into something that's not an optimal process until then they, to resolve it. And so now within seconds, they're able to kind of get that and be able to transition, immediately. And then the one on the first to the right is a super exciting because with partnering together and getting them going with QuickLaunch Analytics, we were able to kind of get all their ERP content resolved and set up in that stage set within a normal kind of 10 to 12 weeks over their ERP. And so they were able to focus on the next wave of their journey, was around AI. So what they had figured out, utilizing AI, if you go through the manufacturing process of wax, there was all these, let's say, 7 different stages, and each stage there were certain temperatures and certain settings. And so they used AI to monitor that and figure out what gives you the most optimal output. And they were able to kind of adjust based on what the AI was providing them to get their waste reduced from 8 to 4%. And at the time, when he announced this, is basically resulting in about $8 to $10 million increased profit a year. If you ask them now, that's even gotten better. They've even been able to refine it even more and get even more money to the bottom line. So super exciting, and they're a great company to speak with if something like this is something you're open to achieve as well. This is another, I don't want to set the stage too much here. This is another, we did a fireside chat a few months ago, and Steve Schmidt from Washington Corporations participated in that and had some great insights. So I'll let David go ahead and kick this off.
Yeah, well, thanks, Adam. Basically, what we asked him, we asked everybody on the call this question, which was, after modernizing your reporting and analytics, what's been the biggest impact at your company? And here's what Steve had to say.
One of our companies are most profitable. The very first time we introduced analytics and Power BI to the executive team, by able to show them the data, we were able to knock down a lot of tradition. Let me tell you, when you can tell a group of executives something that they're not aware of, something that they just know through tradition, they're all on their phones and in the meeting and stuff like that, the phones go down and it's eyes front. Just having the ability to put analytics in front of a group of executives like that and get their attention. Well, that embarked on a first phase year and a half ago, netted $6 million additional revenue a month by just visualizing the efficiency in just one of the stages of the copper mill production. And it's attributed to visibility. So the dashboards that we built, not only the executives go to it they start their day with it, but we have digital displays throughout the mine.
Thanks, David. Yeah, so that was a super exciting to hear, that story from Washington Corporations.
Never.
So let's now look at, again, repeating the similar theme. We've talked about cloud, we're talking about data, we're talking about pipelines, we're talking about data models. So this is kind of what a modern analytics architecture example looks like. So you've got all your data, you've got your applications that are driving data in different formats. Some of that could be sitting in SQL Server, it could be in Oracle, it could be in iSeries DB2, could be APIs in the cloud, could be spreadsheets. Data is going to be all over the place. And it's really, coming up with these consistent pipelines. So you're bringing everything and consistently bringing that into kind of this landing repository. You'll notice we're calling that a data lakehouse, which is kind of the new modern data warehouse. And that would be kind of in the cloud. So you're probably going to be using something like a Databricks or Fabric, maybe a Snowflake or Google BigQuery, something like that. And so that becomes where you land the data. And with these lakehouse, you might hear the terms of what's a medallion tier. So there's a bronze tier and a silver tier and a gold tier. And so, as you increase that data maturity domain around lakehouses, right? Each of those has a purpose, right? You got to bring the data in its raw form. That might be, again, the bronze tier. And then you want to layer that with translations and transformation, which is that next layer. Maybe that becomes like your silver tier. And then you want to build different aggregations or create different views that for different parts of upstream analysis is where kind of maybe that's where that kind of gold tier comes into play. So that's all happening. Again, this is at the data side of things. You'll notice on the far right, we have the reporting and analytics with Power BI, Excel, and AI. Like that data in the lakehouse is kind of becomes the requirement to actually run AI and build data science models. It's and Databricks as an example of building out in Microsoft, lots of functionality that's happening at the data in that structured type of form. And so, but if you think about users, not that not everybody's gonna be running their own data models and data science. They're going to be just trying to do day-to-day analysis and day-to-day decisions, and all that data needs to be put into, and it gets another layer of transformation into a usable format that they can consume and ingest. And so that's where that enterprise grade data model comes in. You've got all this data from all these different applications, feeding pipelines consistently to a lakehouse, and then you're going to bring that into Power BI. And so one of the things to kind of focus on with this is that how do you get that into a single source of truth, that enterprise grade data model? Because what we find a lot with companies when they get started is they get so excited. Power BI, oh my gosh, I can pull a spreadsheet of data into my Power BI and build a model, right? I can go and start, bringing in other data sources. Maybe I save off, I've got 10 different sales models. And people don't realize you take those models, you publish them to Power BI, and each of those becomes a separate data set. So now I've got 10 different silos of sales models that all sharing that same thing of gross profit. So it's centralizing that logic is really what's critical to getting that consistency and confidence of the data of what's driving those metrics for the business. Also, if you think about all that data that's getting extremely large, by default, Power BI as an example, you load data in Power BI, everything's a full load. So you say, okay, I want to get as quickly as possible. Well, I'm pulling 5 years of data and 150 million rows every single pull. So you want to figure out a way, how do you incrementally load that data? How do you basically break that down and start introducing things like partitions so you can get those cycle times to be much faster? Benefit of that, not only does it get your data in exposed to the business that much faster, it also reduces your cloud compute spend, right? So a lot of these decisions, as you think through this architecture, is really looking at how you can gain wins from the user satisfaction, from the cost, reduction, again, from the confidence in the business. And so that's really the idea is what we do really well is that layer, which is where 90% of the users aren't going to be going right to the lakehouse. 90% of the users are going to be accessing the Power BI content and models that you deploy. So you want to make sure those are really set up. And I think that's been our sweet spot as an organization. All right. So now, again, carrying this forward with our new go-to-market strategy. So in 2025, with the new rebrand from Preferred Strategies to QuickLaunch Analytics, again, we always had this product for years called QuickLaunch. And now what we're coming up with, a new breakdown. So we have what we're called QuickLaunch Analytics packs. And now it's a solution, again, for your whole data ecosystem. Normally you'd start, left to right, but I'm going to start right to left here because, again, as we talked about, up until this year, we always had enterprise type data models, and we always have customers that want to bring in data outside of their ERP. But our starting point was, okay, well, take the ERP model, deploy that, and then add your other content into that if it relates, or take the methodology that's built into that and then apply it elsewhere. So you have that consistency. So if you have maybe a separate CRM, you've got a separate, maybe you've got, Vista or JD Edwards as your ERP, but you've got Workday for, HR payroll or something like that. So how do you get that consistency? So with this year, what we've done is taken the methodology that's always been built into our application packs for those applications like the ERPs, and we've actually made those available in more of a not generic form, but more in a agnostic form that then you could basically feed in with other like type data. So you think about on the financials, our JD Edwards financial model or enterprise model that has a financial subject area within it has the same measures regardless of what ERP it is. So those same 500 calculated measures around the GL, revenue, gross profit, net income, actual budget variance, month to date, quarter, year to date, those are now available as a generic model as well. So if you have multiple ERPs, some we support as an application pack, some you don't, you could then use these models. Or maybe you're attending this, you don't even have any of the technologies or applications that are listed on the right. And so that's what the concept is, foundation pack. So now with our 2025 go-to-market strategy, we're saying, let's take what we've done well in the ERP space, And outside of that, you can see with things like, Salesforce and now with the FP&A with OneStream, how do we take that and then apply it and provide these things that we use internally and our customers start to use and make them available for all customers. So with the foundation pack, it really is agnostic to data, right? You can get a consistent pipeline flow. You can get the lakehouse infrastructure set up properly. We've built these utilities like you see there on the screen, like a Delta editor and a schema compare. And each of these have a purpose that, we'd be happy to dive in deeper, but these now help you become more effective and efficient, saving your team time and make things more maintainable and consistent, regardless of who's doing the work. And so those are the things that now become part of this foundation pack. So the application pack on the right, basically, when you pick an application pack, you get a foundation pack and an application pack. But you could, if you don't have the opportunity to leverage an application pack because you don't use those applications, you could start with the foundation pack and still be way ahead of the game with what you get. And the last column there on the foundation pack is with the analytics and Power BI, things that we've done across the board, these finance model, supply chain and construction, HR, people type model, and a generic one, a general model that allows you to basically take, you could say, I've got safety incidents, right? I just want to bring that in, or I've got some other survey results, right? So it becomes a default starting point model. And then any of those where you need to apply time-based time intelligence, like time-based measures, or you got an offset fiscal calendar that's 544, 445, like that logic's already going to be there. If you want some row security, that's a default, or currency or unit of measure conversions, and then other things that just we find be common obstacles that companies need to overcome. So anyhow, excited to share more. And but yeah, so the big change for us as an organization is where we used to start with an ERP and then expand. We now have options. So even with existing customers where they might use one of the applications that we have, these are a whole new set of models and new set of content that will help them in the bigger enterprise analytics initiative that they have outside of just their ERP, as an example. Okay, so I know David's probably going, geez, Adam, you're rambling and taking too long here, but really, I'm almost done with my few slides. Again, the focus really is about you, right? I mean, we're here to help. That's our whole, business for the last 20 some odd years has really been identifying what are those gaps, what are the struggles, what are customers, or how are they challenged, and how can we continue to tweak what we do to help you do better? How do we help you get the outcome? How do we help you establish that value for your organization? And I think really this comes to everything we've been talking about is, with QuickLaunch Analytics, right? How do we work together to figure out what is it you need? What's going to drive the right impact and change for the company? And then let's tie these together. So you have a centralized enterprise model that's going to work for all the key areas and subject areas of your business. You're going to get that up and running in a matter of weeks. And in case of a foundation pack, maybe you have things up and running and in minutes, but then obviously it's then morphing that into your business. A whole community where you can go out there and learn and gain knowledge of how-to videos and how to make these things successful in what makes your organization unique around how you manage your data and your applications. And then key is standardization. How can you standardize reporting? How can you integrate all the data? And how can you have, again, that methodology consistent across the board? All of this to be really helping you reduce, whatever your development times are, or, maximizing your efficiency and maximize satisfaction. And my last slide really is what stays the same. We've been talking about, the evolution. We've been talking about this transition for us as a company, but the idea is really we are the same company, right? We're still your same trusted partner. A lot of things haven't changed, right? The same quality and reliability, our same commitment to your data strategy and helping you modernize your technology stack the way that makes sense for you. And not all clients are the same. It's really a partnership. As David mentioned, we're an extension of your company, and we really love to to provide you whatever support you need. And our goal is really to make you successful, but also make you self-sufficient and take all of our knowledge that we've learned over hundreds of thousands of hours and decades of time, and transferring that to you and your team. And so at the end of the day, like I said, I don't expect too much different in a lot of areas, except for some new exciting things that might be interesting if you're an existing partner of ours already. And then for people that are brand new to QuickLaunch Analytics, we love to connect and see where those synergies exist in alignment. David, I'm all done.
Thank you, Adam. Just realized that I didn't, every other slide Dax was in a different position, and he's just was a little sedentary with that transition. So I made it easy for you guys, but hopefully you got some good takeaways from today's session and start to think about how you can, start actioning, your enterprise analytics journey with your organization. And we wanted to leave you with some next steps here on how you can get started. So we do offer a lot of good webinars, whether it's technical deep dives or demos of certain technologies. So make sure you check out our event page, and we will share this PDF of the deck. So these links will all be clickable. So yeah, check out our upcoming webinars. If you're interested in getting started but not really sure where to start, feel free to reach out and book a strategy session where we'll have one of our analytics experts kind of sit down and assess where you're at and start to put a strategy or a roadmap together for you. And then yeah, follow us on some. We have different socials now, so follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube and in our blog. And then yeah, if you're a customer and you need some direct support or have questions, feel free to reach out to our support at QuickLaunchAnalytics.com email, and we'll be happy to answer anything that comes up. Yeah, so some of you are already putting your answers in here, and y'all are smart. You can't get much past you. Brian, Colin, Candace, you guys are all dead on. It actually was the QuickLaunch Analytics pack, or slide 27, that Dax was absent from. So thank you for participating, and it's not too late. If we'll probably do these Where's Dax giveaways in future sessions if you want to get your hands on one. So with that, I think we can go ahead and open it up to any comments or questions that you may have. I think I saw one come in here, Adam, trying to pick through the Dax, Where's Dax game and the actual questions. But somebody asked, how does using the QuickLaunch Analytics packs differ from building your own solution with those technologies? Adam, you're muted, by the way. Sure.
Thank you for letting me know before I went on for 30 seconds, David. Yeah, it's a great question. I think sometimes when we get in and do a demonstration and we're showcasing Power BI and with our model, and people say, well, this looks just like Power BI, and right. So one of the things that how does an analytics pack differ from building from scratch? The end result might be the same if you have all the right knowledge, you have all the time put in, you figured out how to address all the requirements. We're using all these native technologies. So when we talk about QuickLaunch Analytics, it's not like we're replacing, like it's an enterprise data set that's not Power BI. It is all Power BI. It is all Databricks. It would be Fabric. So these are the technologies are all the same. We're just executing on how to leverage the technologies in the most efficient and way that we found to be the most optimal with clients. So really, the result that you get so quick is because we packaged all that knowledge in a way. But really, it just the difference, I would say, is probably more time, assuming you have everything that's required to build. It's, do you want to wait 2 years to get something? But then the other challenge might be, if you build something, then you have to maintain something and you have to document something. But also, what happens if somebody leaves the organization, somebody else comes in? It's very hard if someone's put in 2 years of their life building something and somebody else comes in not knowing what they did. So what happens a lot of times is, well, I'm just going to start over. I'm going to start, doing something different. So it's getting the foundation that you build, but really it just comes down to you know, do you want something in a matter of weeks or is the time and the considerations around having to maintain whatever you build, and do you have the resources and team to do so?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Adam. I have one more question here. We have a complex ERP implementation and business processes. Can we customize the solution to our needs? That's the question.
Definitely. Thank you, David. Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of this, because it isn't just, what you see is what you get. It is a foundation. It's a methodology. It's this starting point. But every single customer has a custom table in the ERP, or they've got some other data source they want to bring in and add, or they've got some additional calculations. And so we encourage all of that. So really, it's quick launch. It's starting your journey on the right foot. And as we enhance it over time, you get to leverage those benefits. But it should be transitioned and transformed into your model for your business. And 100% we support. And if there's anything unique about your sometimes we've had people say how they're so unique in their configuration of their ERP. We work with hundreds of companies, seeing things like as crazy as they get. So yeah, like we're not afraid to kind of have that dialogue and discussions. Okay, let's peel the onion on that. What are you doing? Maybe we have some ideas on where's, how you could overcome that. But I guess I'm not aware of anything that we have not been able to work in partnership with a client through the most complex of requirements that we've seen.
Right. Thanks, Adam. Well put. So I think that's all the questions. I apologize if I'd missed one. All of these DAX answers are getting a little in the way, but no, thank you for your time and attention today. I know we're all busy, and hopefully you got some actual takeaways and learned a few things. We're incredibly excited about this new chapter of QuickLaunch Analytics, and we really want to invite you to be a part of the journey. So please reach out to, schedule a strategy session or follow up with any questions. We're here to help. So with that, hopefully everyone has a good rest of your week, and see you later. Bye.
David.